Hello everyone, today is the 14th of October. It's reported that there are around 12,500 millionaires in Northern Ireland. There are nearly 78,000 across Ireland as a whole. Globally, the number is creeping towards 50 million. That's $50 million millionaires in the world. But apparently, many of them don't feel rich anymore. Now, to feel you've made it, you want to be a billionaire. What's the difference between a millionaire and a billionaire? That sounds like the start of a joke with a telling punchline. But really, what is the difference? Especially for people like me who get lost, really lost in big numbers. Think of it like this. If a sailor had travelled with Christopher Columbus on his big trip to the Americas, starting back in 1492, and had been able to save $5,000 a day since setting sail, he would have been a millionaire in just under 6 years. But under the same terms and conditions, that is, saving $5,000 a day, by 2020, 428 years later, assuming he was a long liver, he still wouldn't be a billionaire. It's a big step up from millionaire to billionaire, one that's very easy to overlook when it's vanishingly unlikely that it's ever going to impact you. In case you're interested though, there are just over 2,000 billionaires in the world. But get this, there is now talk of decabillionaires. That's when your assets amount to $10 billion plus. In this category, you are part of a pretty elite club. You are one of the 50 wealthiest folk in America. You'll be rubbing shoulders with Jeff Bezos of Amazon fame, his former wife, and Bill Gates. Bezos is sitting on $165 billion. His former wife comes in at $54 billion, while Bill Gates gets by on $113 billion. He'd be further up the league if he hadn't made so many charitable donations. These new terms don't end there. The category hectobillionaire has been devised for people whose wealth is upwards of $100 billion. Bezos and Gates are already there. Warren Buffett and Mark Zuckerberg are on the way. Analysts reckon Buffett may be too old to make it, but think Zuckerberg will. He has time on his side. You know what the next step is? Well, speculation has started as to who might be the first trillionaire. My head, already beginning to get lost in the shift from millionaire to billionaire, melts completely at this point, especially since there are two ways of defining trillionaire. By either definition, it'll be a bit of time before the world gets its first one. Meanwhile, hectobillionaires, decabillionaires, common or garden billionaires, and even lowly millionaires won't be short of sugar for their coffee or indeed their tea. In the real world, it's our Harvest Thanksgiving service in Bandside this Sunday. If you plan to be in church rather than online, contact Gavin Henry to let him know that you're coming. At its heart, Harvest reminds us that no matter how much we have, we need nature to provide what makes life viable. Water to drink, food to eat, air to breathe. And in its way, the Bible introduces us to a different economic ethic. Instead of squeezing every last bit of advantage out of the economy we're involved in for ourselves, it says, be attentive to others. As Leviticus puts it, when you reap the harvest of your land, do not reap to the very edges of your field, or gather the gleanings of your harvest. Leave them for the poor and the marginalized. Deuteronomy amplifies this, saying, when you are harvesting in your field and you overlook a sheaf, don't go back to get it. Leave it for the foreigner, the fatherless, the widow. When you beat the olives from your trees, don't go over the branches a second time. Leave what remains for the foreigner, the fatherless, the widow. When you harvest your grapes, don't go over the vines again. Leave what's left for you've got it, the foreigner, the fatherless, the widow. Remember how hard things were for you when you were slaves in Egypt. I wonder what that ancient approach would look like translated into the modern world of millionaires, billionaires, and someday trillionaires. Perhaps big corporations would be content to pay their fair share of tax. Perhaps we'd never get that first trillionaire. When we lived in Atlanta, Betsy worked in a soup kitchen, providing food for homeless people. At the end of each meal, when the volunteers reflected together on how things had gone, nearly every time, in a wonderful phrase, a black man called Horace would ask for the Lord to give us an attitude of gratitude. As we approach harvest this year, in all the strangeness of our times, may we too have an attitude of gratitude, an attitude like that of the psalmist, who gives thanks for rain that brings forth the produce of the earth, grass for cattle, grain for people, wine that gladdens our human hearts, oil to make our faces shine, and bread to sustain us. May we know what is truly important and live generously with that attitude of gratitude. And you know what I wish for us? I also wish for millionaires, billionaires, and anyone who imagines being a trillionaire will give them what they really want. I'll see you on Sunday for harvest. God bless. Bye for now.